When I was in college, I'll never forget this moment. When I was in college, I got pulled over one time going home from college to home, and they said that I didn't stop long enough at the stoplight. And I was like, I took my ticket and did my defensive driving. Well, when I was in the police academy, when we're reading through all the statutes as part of what you do when you go to the police academy, it says that the definition of stopping is comes to a full cessation of movement. There's not a time limit how long you have to be stopped at the stop sign. It's just you have to come to a full, complete stop, like no forward momentum, right? And I remember sitting there, and I was like, you got to be kidding me! I was so angry and frustrated. I was like, that dude straight up was like misled me. He lied to me. You know, I should not have gotten that. And I remember sitting there like I was legitimately angry in that moment when I realized what those definitions of some of those offenses were. But I think some of that comes to just training too. Like we here in Austin, for the longest time, have been very fortunate to have a lot of access to good training. Our police academy has always been one of the longest in the nation. So we've always had a pretty good thing here.
So I got a couple questions though. So first thing is, like, if you're a person and a civilian who gets stopped by a cop for something stupid like that, how do you like communicate to the officer, and how do you best fight that?
Yeah, I think that's the problem where we as a society fail the most. We don't teach civics anymore. There is a reason we have a judicial branch of government, and that's where you get to air your grievances out to a party that's not there. So if you're in that moment, right? So an officer pulls you over and you're unhappy, you're like, hey, I disagree with this or whatever. You can always ask for a supervisor. You can always ask for a supervisor to the scene. Say, hey, I'd like to speak to your supervisor. Anyone, you can do that. But secondly, is it's not always the best environment to have an argument or a confrontation, right? And so that's where you can always go through internal affairs if you feel like there was a wrongdoing, or you can wait and contest your ticket and go to court.
Which I think is the best approach, because I've had that happen to me a few times where I'm just like, you know what? Hey, be polite and go. I mean, depending on how like expensive it is, like, well, getting a lawyer sucks. You don't want to do that, but like either be polite, get a lawyer, be polite, and go speak to a prosecutor about what happened and tell them what's going on and see what the deal or the situation is. But I think that, like, people aren't really taught how to, like, communicate with police officers or people in like, certain communities, like, specifically, like, you know, the black community, right, from what I'm hearing, like, on TV and from other people that I've, like, had as guests. They are like, well, you know, if I try, like, they might be scared to even have that discussion because they're afraid of, like, getting, like, you know, brutalized or attacked or shot by some officer who's not trained, or they had a bad day, or the mental health is, like, not, you know, they're not as invested in, like, positive mental health as they could be with some of these, like, academies or some of the departments or whatnot. So, like, how do you, like, effectively, like, if I'm stopped at let's say, like, for your example, right, like, I stop at a stop sign for, like, a second. I seceded movement, right? Yeah. I did what I'm supposed to do. But a cop pulls me over because I wasn't stopped for 2 seconds. I didn't stop for more than that. Like, what can I say to that? What should I say as somebody who gets pulled over to that cop?
Yeah, you know,
I let's role play. If I'm the cop and you know, I'm the cop and I pull you over.
Okay.
Sir, do you know why I pulled you over?
No, why'd you pull me over?
You didn't come. You were supposed to stop at a stop sign from X amount of time, and you didn't stop at the stop sign for the required amount. So I'm going to rate you.
What's the required amount of time?
The required amount of time is 3 seconds.
Yeah, my bad. 3 seconds. You know, so now we can start getting into an argument, right? If that was the case, I would just be like, can I speak to your supervisor about that? And I was like, no offense to you, with all due respect, I think you may be mistaken on this, but I don't want to get in an argument with you, but I would like to speak to your supervisor, please.
Okay, and then what would the cop have to do?
Call a supervisor.
They have to do it immediately, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as it's seen safe, right? So as long as it's seen safe, like if I'm like thrailing my arms about and I'm making movements in my car, like I'm digging underneath my seat, like, oh yeah, you start yelling, they're going to wait a second to make sure it's safe for them to call their supervisors. But if you just stay calm like you and I are doing now, say, I'd just like to speak to your supervisor, they're going to call their supervisor immediately.